Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and listening devices may be relatively new. They are a fairly new invention, but they have become a massive part of many of our lives. They're in our phones, they're in our cars, and now they're even in little dot-like devices. And everybody is working to make theirs the number one because of course they are. So Google's got a Home, and Apple's got a Siri, and Amazon's got an Echo Dot, which I've always laughed at. Like, why don't they just call it the bug? Because Amazon admitted that they all these devices, they record conversations, they store them somewhere, and then you're not exactly sure what they do with them. Well, senators recently have sent some questions to Amazon, specifically Jeff Bezos, because they want to know how much of your conversations are Amazon recording and what exactly are they doing with those recordings. According to Gizmodo, lawmakers in the U.S. have taken a greater interest in the failures of tech companies lately, but most of the focus has been on Facebook and Google, while Jeff Bezos has been busy making a reported $230,000 a minute. Now it's Amazon's turn at the barrel, which, you know what, in all fairness, I knew this was coming at some point. I knew Amazon would get dragged into this because they had a few stories that definitely rivaled that of Facebook's and Google's. They didn't have to do with fake news, but they had something to do even worse. They had some screw-ups with your personal information. On Thursday, senators sent a list of questions regarding numerous privacy concerns about the Amazon Echo to CEO Jeff Bezos. The letter is signed by Senate Judiciary Committee members Jeff Flake and Chris Coons, and it specifically points to a disturbing case of a couple in Portland who found their device had recorded one of their private conversations and sent it in a message to one of the husband's employees. And for those of you who are not aware, I came so close to doing a story on that one, and for some reason it just didn't work out. But yeah, the couple were having a conversation, and we don't really know what the conversation was about, to be honest. I'm sure it probably wasn't a big deal, or else we would know what it was about. But the thing is, that conversation was recorded, and it was sent to the husband's employee. And obviously that's going to have the couple kind of going like, what just happened here? So that started being the first major red flag for this Echo device. And really, it should be a red flag for all listening devices. I remember, side story, I have a friend, we were in a pizza place eating food. He was talking about his Apple phone, and he held it up and said, "Hey Siri," and it showed Siri activated. And I didn't know what that meant, you know, like Siri's on the phone. And he then showed me his settings and showed that he had the microphone turned off, showing that these devices are set to listen to you 24 hours a day, whether you set it up properly or not. So I have been especially cautious of all the listening devices since then. And of course, I know I have a smartphone too. I'm contemplating choices in my life. Let's get back to the story though. Amazon admitted that it screwed up in that case, saying the device misheard several commands in a row. Amazon claims Echo devices are completely disengaged from recording their environment until someone says Alexa. But after that, recordings are sent to Amazon servers, and there are many things we don't know about that process or what the company does with user data. And I doubt we're going to find out anytime soon, as long as they've got billions of dollars to protect that information. Some of the questions are things the senators could find out for themselves. Quote, before being activated by a wake word in an Echo, is an Echo device designed to always be listening for a wake word? Yes, they are. But senators likely want to hear it straight from Bezos. Other questions are more interesting. We would also like to know how many complaints Amazon has received from users about its devices secretly recording them without their knowledge. It would definitely be fascinating to find out all of the, quote, purposes for which Amazon uses, stores, and retains consumer information, including voice data collected and transmitted by the Echo device. And considering how much trouble third-party developers have caused Facebook lately, all the questions related to third parties' ability to mod and access the Echo could get uncomfortable for Bezos. And it's going to get uncomfortable for everyone. And this is definitely where we're getting into a day and age where, you know, I've kind of wondered about people sometimes. And this might pertain to you as well. Who knows? I don't mean it to, but as someone who has, like, for example, watched TV for a long time. There are so many ways to get content now. And it's interesting how it's so much cheaper to watch things. In some cases, it doesn't cost anything, and people still entitled for it to be given to them. It's like I see when I have like a sponsorship on a video, people say, all of a sudden, all of my viewers all of a sudden have YouTube Red. All of them. Like, hey, I pay YouTube Red so I don't have to see commercials. And it's like, no, you don't. And in fact, people have told me I shouldn't be monetizing my videos anyway. And people don't want to pay for Hulu. They don't want to pay for Netflix. They just want to download them. Like, hey, I'm entitled to watch this stuff for free. And yet this stuff has to get paid for at some point. And yet people use these listening devices. They use Facebook. They use these high-tech search engines. They don't pay a cent for them. They get really offended when it's like, oh, the devices are listening. It's like, well, how do you think it pays for it? They want something in exchange for giving you the service for free or next to free. I think my dad admitted when he got me my Echo, which I, with all due respect to my dad, promptly gave away because I didn't want it. He said he's paid like $50 for it. And it's like, yeah, that's nothing. This is a device. That costs nothing for that device. I knew they were going to be storing personal information in favor of paying for that device, and they were going to do something with it. And I'm not going to do that. This is the reality of smart devices that record our social media. Heck, this is how even things like MoviePass pay for so many movies. They collect your data, and people don't like it. And I understand why they don't like it, but it's the reality. You want things to cost as dirt cheap or as close to nothing as possible. This is what it's going to be. They're going to store your data, but what are they going to do with it? Let's continue a little bit. Quote, recent reports have raised serious questions about how Amazon collects and stores voice data and what steps are being taken to make sure this information is not shared without consumers' consent, Senator Coons wrote in a statement sent to Gizmodo. Quote, people have the right to know their data is being used and protected, and we look forward to Mr. Bezos' response to these important questions. We've reached out for comment to Amazon, but did not receive an immediate reply. And by the way, there are instructions in your device and on the Amazon website where if you want to see what exactly Amazon's recording and what they're doing, then you can look that up. But you don't ultimately know what they're doing with that recording. I remember years ago when Dilbert was on UPN, which was a channel that's not on the air anymore. Boy, I'm dating myself at this point. And, Dilbert was showing off to Dogbert a shower. And he said, hello, shower. I would like my shower to be 75 degrees. And Dogbert said very sarcastically, is it that difficult to turn the knob? And, Dill was like, oh, it's not difficult, it's just unnecessary. That's the kind of attitude that got us into this mess, that got us so dependent on these smart devices and on these computers. Now, of course, I don't want to throw them completely under the bus because, there's a lot of convenience they bring us. I mean, I do definitely like that when I need information. I don't have to go to the library anymore if I don't want to. I just have to look it up. Heck, I go to the library for fun. I go there to check out novels to read for fun. I don't need it for information books anymore. And of course, I love my MoviePass. You know what? That is a trade-off I'm going to have. You're going to give me free movies, and you know what? Use my data for what you want. I would love to go to the theaters for practically nothing. And yet, there are certain companies I don't trust with that information, and Amazon is definitely one of them. And this couple's story was not surprising when I heard it. I actually thought it was more surprising something like this didn't happen sooner. And it's going to keep happening, and people just... So, the debate is going to, of course, rage on, how ethical it is. I mean, I think the companies are unfortunately pretty safe because that user agreement that you agree to, that's where you agree to let them look up your stuff. That's where you agree to let them record you. But my advice is if you don't want Amazon or heck even like Siri recording conversations of yours, I would get rid of those devices as soon as possible. Or, turn off the microphones, do whatever you can. At least, I know the Apple devices, it's listening for Siri one way or the other. You can't turn those off. I think it's just best not to have those devices, and I personally don't see too much of a need for them. I mean, it's like some people. I know people who say, "Hey Alexa, play the Beatles," and it's like I can play my own Beatles music. I've got a classic iPod that doesn't listen to me for that. So, but anyway, what about you guys? Does the idea of the recording devices concern you? Do you think the senators have some points? Would you like to see Amazon or maybe even another company actually respond to some serious questions about how these listening devices are used? I would love to know. So comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, but even $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.